are at the Aquarium. Today we're going to be looking inside and have a look at a few of the animals that live in here. And this place also used to be a fort in the Austro-Hungarian rule. But now we repurposed it into an aquarium. Here we are, we've just entered Pula Aquarium and we're here with one of the rescued turtles that are here. You can see that it's lost its right rear flipper, it's now just a stub, but he seems to be doing just fine. And if you look on the flipper, he's got a little hook on the flipper, and that's how you know that he's a hawksbill sea turtle.
Make a turtle better.
Making the turtle better.
There's a baby one swimming.
He's lost one of his rear flippers. We are now entering the intertidal zone. In this area, as the name suggests, this is where the tides go in and out throughout the day. Here, there are some blennies. There's quite a few crabs and plenty. We're now just into the entrance, and we've reached one of the first exhibits here. As you can see, there's a young sea turtle over here. I can see another claw on its kind of wing, so that's how you know it's a hawksbill. There's some large ones here, and there's quite a few. I think that's and there's a few moray eels. And they've actually got teeth that face backwards. Now those backwards facing teeth enable the fish to slide in smoothly, but it's very tricky for the fish to go back out. This place is, this used to be a fort in the Austro-Hungarian rule of Croatia. Now they repurposed this fort and turned it into an aquarium. These appear to be young lobsters. You can see one pin's smaller than the other, and you can see their burrow systems where in the wild they usually use these to avoid predators until they grow big enough to defend themselves. Over here, this baby lobster, and you see that tail. When they grow big enough, and they get a normal adult size, they can stretch in their tail and tense those muscles, and then when they bend their tail back, it sends them rocketing backwards. There's also sea urchins over here, and starfish. And here is a bonanza of sea anemones, and also a blenny. Now, these sea anemone stingers, the actual tentacles themselves are not venomous, but they've actually got little harpoons in them, and they kind of inject the venom into whatever goes close to them or touches them. But yet, clownfish, which have a special type of kind of like antitoxin on their skin, it enables them to go in between without getting any side effects. Here is the diatrima, which is also a terror bird, one of the largest birds or ground birds to have ever lived. Here's Hyracotherium. Hyracotherium is one of the first horses. And Brontotherium, which has two massive stub-like horns which actually cover their eyes. Now, we're dating back 144 to 65 million years ago. This is the Cretaceous period, where dinosaurs like Tyrannosaurus rex, Triceratops, and Therizinosaurus, which had the longest claws of any animal to ever exist, lived. There's also the Iguanodon, whose thumb spike was recently thought to be a horn. And it was actually moved here and the fossil was complete. Now, 213 to 144 million years ago is the Jurassic time period.
Is this when they built Jurassic Park?
No, but Brachiosaurus and Therizinosaurus lived here. But this is really the late Cretaceous to the early Jurassic period. So that's why Jurassic and Cretaceous dinosaurs are living in the same time period. Now, this is entering into the middle and late Jurassic, going into the Triassic. But this is actually the Ginkgo tree, one of the oldest trees ever to have lived on Earth. There's also the Herrerasaurus, thought to be one of the first ever dinosaurs. It was around 2 meters tall and 4 meters long, but it was a ferocious predator. Now we're going into the time before the dinosaurs, the Permian era. Here's where Dimetrodon, our great, and a lot more great ancestor. The Carboniferous period.
Moss chops.
Moss chops. Here, there's Meganura, which is the largest dragonfly. It was approximately around this long, and it was also a cannibal. It ate other dragonflies. Now, the Devonian. This is where creatures like Dunkleosteus, a half-armoured fish, lived. And this was approximately 408 to 360 million years ago. There were not many land animals, but they were just starting to walk. And Dunkleosteus had massive, sharp teeth that shredded through the bone of smaller armoured fish. Now the Silurian period, 413 to 408 million years ago, there was the Eurypterida, also known as the sea scorpion. Now these things lived in a land where there was low oxygen and barely any plants. Now, the Ordovician, 500 to 408 million years ago. This is where there were massive mollusks, like this one. Wait, let's have a look. Endocerus. Now these things grew to be at least around 15 meters long. Now, far later than this, we don't actually know if any creatures lived at all, except for the ones that lived in the sea. Now here, the Precambrian, from the formation of Earth, it's 570 million years. The first sponges came around, and also jellyfish. And this is where all life began. All life, bacteria, everything started in the ocean. Now, we've reached all the way down. Let's see what's in store here. Here, this seems to be a common snapping turtle. Although I'm not... Oh, there it is, floating just under the surface. These things had bone-crushing jaws. They could easily snap through my arm. Now here are horseshoe crabs, which actually harvest their blood. And oddly enough, their blood is blue. And even though they don't look like crabs, they've actually got around 12 legs underneath their hard, bony shells. And here is the axolotl, or the Mexican walking fish. And the axolotl can decide whether or not really to age. These things are critically endangered, even though they make brilliant pets. These things are very much critically endangered, and they only live in one lake. In the early 1950s, scientists discovered that horseshoe crab blood contains a clotting agent. Now let's say if a horseshoe crab is injured, their blood will instantaneously go there and form a clot to stop bacteria from invading the wound. And now, scientists have figured out that we can use horseshoe crab blood to help us clot severe wounds. Now, should we make our ascent?
Yeah. Get it, get it.
Now, I explained more about life on the land here, but I think I need to explain more about life in the oceans. Now, we already know that the first invertebrates, sponges, and all other creatures first lived in the ocean, like Ichthyosaurus. Then, after millions of years, they evolved to become vertebrates. Now, this Orandaspis was one of the first fish. It didn't have any fins, but it mainly moved using its massive tail to propel itself. Now, Ordovician here, also the fish now evolved so that they have more rigid fins, well, any fins at all. The Silurian, Nucleosteus came, and also came the Ammonite, which is related to the Nautilus, and the horseshoe crab. In the Devonian period, there's Stethacanthes, also called the ironing board shark, because the male spotted fins, they look like ironing boards. Carboniferous period. The Parahelicoprion, now its jaw could wind up this way. They could also wind back in. It was a formidable predator. Now, in the Permian, the Notosaurus, and the Placidus came into existence, along with the Ichthyosaurus, which I'm sure lots of people are familiar with. Now, during the Triassic period, Ichthyosaurus still remained, but also came the Metriorhynchus, one of the first crocodiles. And this one had abandoned all of its armor scaling in result for a smoother body so that it can easily slide through the water. And here also came the Liopleurodon, one of the largest marine carnivores to have ever lived. It would have reached approximately 6 to 12 meters long, and they preyed on the massive Leadsichthys. Now, entering again into the Jurassic, came the Axolotl, which was a turtle the size of a car. Also came Xiphactinus, and these also survived throughout the Cretaceous period when they finally became extinct. There's also Elasmosaurus, which used its longer neck to reach into schools of fish and just pluck them out. Now, tertiary, here's the Dugongidae, relative of the dugong. Also lived the Megalodon, the largest shark to have ever lived. Now these things would have been around the same size as a large boat, and they would eat small whales. Now here, this is the closest we've gotten, and here is where our normal sea life thrived. We're now going to go deep inside the fort and see what lies down here. Wait, I can see something just down there. Now this is the Croatian Wetlands area. Now here, many different creatures live in the wetlands because they provide shelter and plenty of food. There are lots of predators like white-tailed eagles and white storks, and there's plenty of species of otter there, or lucha for their scientific name. Now over here, we should have some amphibians, common newt, common toad. There's also some very tiny fish. And if you look on the side, it also appears that there's a fire salamander. Now, these things don't actually walk out of fire, but usually in the countrysides where they live, when people make campfires out of logs, it appears that they walk out of fire. And here's a common newt right now.